we've been very lucky to be growers for Penfolds for quite a while. We were part of the starting of the Grange Growers Club, which started in 1996. So we've been growing Grange or providing grapes for Penfolds Grange for quite a long time now. My grandpa was pretty keen to have his own label, and so he sort of encouraged it, my uncles. And I suppose when you come from that many generations back, it's always nice to have a stamp that your generation can put on things, because each of the generations had done different things back in the day. And so creating our own wine label, I suppose, has been my generation's stamp.
Today, we're talking to someone that's part of 6 generations of grape growing in McLaren Vale. They've been growing grapes since 1839. She's also a star winemaker, really shaped the varieties that are growing in McLaren Vale. We're talking to Corrina Wright from Oliver's Taranga. I'm Jason.
And I'm Trent, and we're here on an unapologetically unprofessional, unfiltered wine journey. We're saying here, Jace.
Our saying is drink more, try more, learn more. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Corrina, thank you for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for wearing such a cool shirt. You came in and I was like, that is a cool shirt. What's the story behind that shirt?
So this is old tea towels, from wine regions. And there's a girl up in Queensland called House of Clare, and she makes old tea towels into shirts.
That is cool.
I sent it up and I thought it would be appropriate for today.
Yeah, fantastic. So there is a use for old tea towels there.
And they look good. So can you buy that online, actually?
You can, if not this exact, they're all different. Everything's a one-off. But yeah, she's at House of Clare on Instagram if you want to go and have a hunt.
That's awesome. Well, we want to learn about your story. We want to taste some fantastic wines. First off, we're going to jump into the icebreaker questions from the wind-up. So, hand to Trent.
Always a difficult one. Most memorable wine or most memorable wine moment?
Most memorable wine moment was probably when I carried a bottle of the first wine that I ever made, which, doesn't really taste that great. But I carried it while I was hiking the Inca Trail, and I opened it up when the sun was rising over Machu Picchu.
Oh,
so that's the most memorable. Was it the best? No.
But it was the moment.
It was the moment. It was, it was like,
Oh, that's beautiful.
It was amazing.
Next one. What's the last glass of wine that you had?
Last glass of wine I had was a Vas Felix Chardonnay. It was a Hastbury.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Next one. What's your favourite grape varietal? I might know this.
Yeah, well, today it's going to be Fiano, but it's Fiano and Grenache and Shiraz probably. But it's Fiano and Grenache at the moment.
Okay. I'm going to do a bit of this or that. Fiano or Falangina?
Oh, man. Come on. Both.
You got to choose.
It's not Greco. I know that much. We blocked that one out. But, Falangina is such an exciting... actually, if I take my last actual one that was in my mouth, it was actually 4 different Falanginas that we made at our winery. Not just mine, but the 4 different producers made Falangina at our winery this year. We've got a contract processing facility. And so I did taste that, but that was a spit out. So I figured I wouldn't say that one. But
had to pick one.
Fiano.
Mataro or Tempranillo?
Oh, Mataro.
Mencia or Grenache?
Grenache. But I do love Mencia.
Sangrantino or Shiraz?
Oh, Shiraz.
Shiraz. Did well. I got another bonus question for you as well. If you could steal one vineyard from anywhere in the world, no questions asked, which one would it be?
I would steal, I don't know where they actually get the grapes from, but I'd steal the Ceylon champagne.
Oh, good.
I'm not 100% sure where that exactly is, but whatever they make, and I know they only make it every few years and stuff.
Mesnil-sur-Ogier or something like that.
Somewhere fancy. But yeah, that's what I'd steal.
Okay, next one. Person past a present they'd love to have a bottle of wine with, and what bottle would you pick?
I would love to have a bottle of wine with Annabelle Crabb. I just find her endlessly entertaining and smart and witty, and I love that she focuses on diversity and things like that. Yeah. And what would I have with her? I would have, I'd have a Fiano with her. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Next one, unique or ultimate food and wine pairing?
Oh,
you can give me both if you want.
I loved... Oh, God, I've loved so many things. So tricky. I loved having a barbar cake that was almost 1,000,000% limoncello with some aged Fianos when I was in Campania. But I think it was a sensory overload that whole day because they were picking grapes, and in the middle of the vineyards, they had like wild mint and wild oregano and growing. And there was like the nonna from next door was like with his ciggy was picking grapes, and there was that wafting. And I'd had, and I had a glass of wine and a Fiano, and I was picking the grapes off the vineyard, and I had the baba cake as well. And I think that was, amazing.
Yeah,
an amazing match.
And assault on the senses, but
yeah. I mean, the basil was frying, and there was, there was fresh tomatoes. Anyways. Yes.
So that nonna was giving a bit of that kind of ash smell to the grapes. Got it.
More complexity.
Wild mint plus wild oregano plus grape plus probably the limoncello that was in the baba cake.
I know. It also piqued my interest. What does the aged Fiano taste like?
Just so much generosity and so many layers of flavour. I think, you can kind of picture it maybe in a Chardonnay sort of space, sort of like an aged Chardonnay sort of space. Yeah. I think that's probably what it's most similar to. But we'll be looking at a slightly older Fiano today. So, yeah.
Last one. Biggest lesson learned on your wine journey? You must have a lot, but
biggest lesson learnt. It's all about the community. I think, your grapes are no good without a winery that buys your grapes, and a great wine and a great wine brand, and people with amazing brains and blue sky thinkers and food, and, it's all about the whole community. Yeah.
A system, an ecosystem.
Yeah. And, one that hopefully has a lot of diversity as well.
Fantastic. That's the rapid fire questions.
That's the icebreakers. Let's jump into the journey.
I feel like we're friends now.
Yeah.
You know everything about me.
If we think about Oliver's Taranga and the origin story, so 1839. So who started it? Why did they start it? Where did they start?
Oh, mate, if I could go back in time and ask them why they came over here. But, they come from the bustling, wine metropolis of Scotland. So in 1839, they came over, William and Elizabeth Oliver. They bought the land sight unseen, and we're still on that same land now. So they basically got here, here in McLaren Vale, they planted vines, they planted crops, subsistence farming. There was cropping, fruit trees, vines, sheep, cattle, horses, the whole sort of shebang. Had to dig a well, clear land, etc., etc. And why they picked McLaren Vale, mate, I would really love to know.
1839, were they one of the first or the first? Or?
Fairly early. So 1836 is when South Australia was basically sort of settled, and there were the Hardy family and Nottage sort of family were around then, and we think maybe that motivated them. So there were some grapevines around the sort of 1840s. So we think that might have been part of the motivation. But also back then, alcohol was medicinal. Is it still medicinal? I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
Why are you asking?
Yeah, so, maybe that was part of your subsistence farm. You had to have some alcohol as well. And we know that he did make, William did exhibit, anyways, his own wine in the 1850s at the agricultural shows of Wollonga, and didn't win anything. But he did judge in the agricultural shows as well, and he did win the best looking bunch of grapes.
Yeah. What were they growing back then, do you know?
So, yes, we do. So they planted Shiraz, Grenache, Mataro, and Doradillo, which is an old sherry varietal. So, yeah. The Doradillo didn't last very long, but obviously we still have Shiraz, Grenache and Mataro on our vineyard.
I'm assuming none of those vines are here today though, right?
No, correct. So unfortunately, in 1948, my grandpa sort of pulled out the last of the original vines. He did take cuttings from them and replant them. So we do have that 1948 planted vineyard. But yeah, that's none of the original vines.
You say sight unseen.
Yeah.
And I am like, that is gutsy. I would never do that. Particularly when you're saying they bought it while they were overseas. It was like,
they came over on the ship and they arrived in December, and it looks like the paperwork so basically I think what happened with South Australia is, and don't come at me history nerds, but that this guy called, what's his name? Anyways, the South Australia Company, it was called, it sort of got given a whole pile of that. George Fife Angus is his name, got given pretty much all the land and was able to sort of split it out for the Queen or King or whatever at the time. And so you were able to buy 80 acres at a time, and you were only supposed to own 80 acres. But what we do know is that the original 80 acres, and then they started acquiring quite a lot more and putting little houses little stone cottages on each one. and probably, letting the kids have them or whatever. But yeah, they had 10 children. So Elizabeth, I'm just like, mate, rocks up, no water, wearing the big dresses.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Nah.
You've answered the Oliver part, but there's also Taranga as well.
Yeah, Taranga, yeah. So that's this is where the merge of the Scottish, and then we're lucky enough to live on the lands of the Kaurna people in South Australia, and so Taranga is actually a Kaurna word, and it sort of means the meeting place between 2 points. So sort of say a bridge over a river or a handle of a basket, and the property has been known or named that since at least the end of the first generation, as far as we can see. So Oliver's the family name. Taranga is a Kaurna name.
And so, like a bit earlier, you were also saying that there was awards won for the best-looking grapes.
Yeah, best-looking bunch of colonial grapes.
Yeah, it's like Instagram photo award, something of the equivalent of what it is now.
They won a shilling or something.
Yeah, but like the grapes that you and your family produce is renowned. There's something special about what's happening on this land or how it's being produced.
Yeah, very lucky, yeah.
What's special about this land?
It's just really well suited to, McLaren Vale in general is a beautiful region because we're so close to the ocean, and so you've got that sort of Mediterranean influence, and that having the ocean there means, we don't have things like frosts, we don't have, the heat waves can be mediated by that big ocean being near us. And then also we don't have humidity. So like you guys sort of have a bit more humidity up here. So, disease risk and pressure is quite a bit lower. We've got some beautiful old soils, and, we are lucky that we've got now recycled water that we can have access to, but there is an aquifer as well. So I think, they were able to plant things back in the day, even without irrigation. I don't know, it's just the different little sub-regions that we have in McLaren Vale, or the different districts, different soil types, most of them over sort of limestone or ironstone.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just all swirls into a...
Specifically in Oliver's Taranga.
and specifically in our vineyard.
Yeah. Because your grapes are used by very world-renowned...
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can mention those.
Small... No, I'm allowed to mention it.
You are? Okay.
So very small producer, you may not know of them. They're called Penfolds. No, we've been very lucky to be growers for Penfolds for quite a while. We were part of the original, the starting of the Grange Growers Club, which started in 1996. So we've been growing Grange or providing grapes for Penfolds Grange for quite a long time now. Not every year, but, probably 2 out of every 3 years or so over the journey. Yeah. So very high quality.
There's something special about
old
the place.
vines, the way my uncle grows them. He's pretty good at Shiraz. Low vigor. I don't know, magic.
You're still learning though, aren't you?
Yeah. Shiraz for us is probably easier. So that's why we challenge ourselves with other varieties.
Such as?
Such as
the wines that we have in front of us. And it's a great segue because you brought 2 Fianos for us to try, and we're going to try them here. So this is a 2025 Fiano from Oliver's Taranga, and the 2024 Amphora Fiano.
Yeah.
Amphora, is that how it's pronounced?
Amphora.
Which is amphora.
Yeah. It's just there's a fair few.
It sounds better when you say it like that.
Not amphora.
It's many amphoras. I wanted to show you a couple of different versions of Fiano, expressions, I suppose, of Fianos. We actually do one other as well. We do a sparkling, a traditional method.
So you are called the Queen of Fiano, and we should throw the just to make sure that people know as well.
So everyone knows there's also these great...
I come with nerves.
Showing the Queen of Fiano. Some people think that's the Queen, but it's actually you. So,
So how did you get that name? I guess Fiano is your thing, right?
Yeah, a little bit. We planted Fiano relatively early, so we're very lucky. The Chalmers family in Victoria, they on Mildura base, they started importing lots of Italian varietals back in the day, and we've all been the whole industry has been a bit of a beneficiary of that. Mark Lloyd and Chester Osborne. So Mark Lloyd's from Corriol, Chester Osborne's from Darrenburg. They sort of thought that this might be a decent variety. At the time, we were growing some grapes for Coriol, and they asked us to plant Fiano. So I started tasting every Fiano I could get my hands on back then, which was about 3.
Italy as well,
Yeah, all Italians, yeah. So there was hardly any in Australia. 2004 we planted and been loving it ever since. I think, for McLaren Vale, we desperately wanted to have a white varietal, a bit of a hero white varietal. And, we've had Chardonnay and we've had, other varieties in the region, but we're a bit too warm climate for those more cooler climate wines. Whereas Fiano's high natural acidity, it's still got that beautiful texture and it works really, really well in our climate. Go out fishing, catch some whiting, King George whiting, bring it back and have some Fiano.
I was like, to me, Fiano, I think I only tasted it for the first time last year, maybe the year before. And I was like, oh, you've got some great Fiano. It must be recent. I was looking at when you planted it. 2004.
Yeah.
Like, did you know back then that this is...
No, we were having a crack. It's really funny. Walter Speller, who is Jansen Robinson's Italian sort of correspondent, he came over for the Alternative Varieties wine show one year and he came to McLaren Vale and I just popped a Fiano in his welcome box or whatever. And then I get this phone call and he's like, why? This is actually good.
Yeah.
He was so shocked that we were actually having a proper crack with his, some wines or wine varietals from his country. And he was like, right, I want a back vintage tasting of all of the wines you've had. And I'm like, is there a sold all of those? He's like, no, they just really... So, yeah, love it. So Walter said, why on earth did you plant it? I said, we just wanted to have a crack. And he's like, that's not normal, you strange people in Australia. So, it's been amazing.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, there's 2 Fianos here. Yes. What's the difference and what's the style?
So the difference. So, I've always wanted... So the Fiano has been so popular that I've just never been able to, really keep some and hold some back. And it does age particularly well. When I was over in Campania, I was hosted by the La Donna del Vino, so the Women in Wine Association in Campania, and having a look at some of their wines that they, don't release for a year, and a lot of them are using amphora and things like that, and so really sort of building that textural element and that savoury note and the real, sort of layers of flavour. So I secretly hid some in some terracotta pots that I've got some and my staff were cross with me because we sold out of Fiano. But this is like so tiny. It's like 800 bottles. There's hardly any of it.
Wow.
But just wanted to show what, Fiano can do given a bit of time.
Very distinct aromas between the two.
Yeah. So you get more... always, some of the descriptors for Fiano are often like sort of pine nut or cashew nut or sort of a basil pesto sort of note. And then that, lime, sometimes kaffir lime type of character as well. But you see that it's moved to that more, lovely creamy, nutty, almost cheesy sort of character, almost like a brie or something like that. But it's still... The great thing about it is it's still got really lovely, quite high natural acidity. Yeah.
Kind of like baked white peaches.
Yes, yeah. The pastry.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So what year is this one? Like how many, what's that?
So it's only 24. Yeah, 24. So it's just a year.
But just that work with amphoras really has kind of...
So amphoras, terracotta has, I suppose, a slight impact. A bit of, oxygen can still get through just, the terracotta, but it doesn't give as much of a character like an oak barrel would. So you still see that there's that real savoury note and lots of, sort of fine, flowery sort of tannin, which is probably partially from the grape and partially from the terracotta, but you don't get any of that sort of oaky character. So other people are maybe, using a bit more oak and leaving oak for longer, which is also a, great example as well. But you can kind of see what I mean in some ways about that whole Chardonnay-ish, type of feeling about it. It's,
The first one, is this an oak or is it just stainless steel?
No, so a little bit of oak, but it'd be less than 10% stainless, and then some eggs, but concrete eggs, so not the terracotta. Yeah.
Feels like doing a lot of experimentation. You've got amphoras, concrete eggs, got barrels, stainless steel.
Bobs there. Yeah.
Is that you just getting a better understanding of the grapes, or is this you just kind of experimenting kind of wildly and see if this goes?
Yeah, I mean, it's learning and seeing what other people have been doing, particularly overseas. Just wanting to see what the variety can do, and wanting and sort of now feeling like it is a bit more of a hero white in our region. McLaren Vale is very experimental. We do a lot with alternative varietals, but Fiano is probably one of the ones that has, sort of popped its head up, above the rest. There's a Fiano class and trophy in the McLaren Vale wine show there now. So yeah.
McLaren Vale is very lucky, right? They got Fiano, they also got Grenache now. Like the two kind of big ones.
Yeah. That are a bit popular at the moment. Yeah, so Grenache is having a real heyday. Yeah,
it's not one dimensional in terms of what's being offered. There's so many different things.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that's played a strong role just in Australia, adopting these kind of alternative varieties. Like Fiana's in the conversation around white wines. Everyone's into it.
And,
And it's that work back then in 2004 that's kind of helped push.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got some great producers of it. Corrina have been amazing producers of it. Darrenberg make one as well. There's now, it's probably one of the biggest classes in the alternative varieties wine show now. It's a Fiano class. So, really popular now. Yeah. Restaurant in South Australia, you'd be pressed to not have a Fiano on your wine lists and stuff. So yeah.
Are there other things you're trying to experiment with Fiano?
Well, the sparkling wine that I make. So that's a traditional method sparkling. So I work with the wonderful Kate Laurie from Deviation Road Wines. So she's sort of the sparkling specialist in one of the sparkling specialists, the main one. The other one's Ed Carr, but he's very amazing, but that's different. So I kind of came to her with an idea. And she's actually just done a study tour learning about alternative varietals in sparklings. So since 2016, we've been working together. I was just picking it a bit earlier, making quite a, very tight, not a lot of character base wine, and then taking it up to her, and then we pop it into bottle and have the secondary fermentation up there and leave it on lees for 3 years and then release it. But we also have just, hidden away sort of 200 bottles or so, and just released actually the 2016 again after 9 years on lease. So it's very much a traditional method sparkling that happens to be made of Fiano. It's not like a Fiano flavored, if you know what I mean. I'll send you a bottle later, and you can tell me what you think. But that's been an incredible journey. Learning about that.
Because you said Fiano is a bit like Chardonnay, but I'm guessing it tastes nothing like champagne or...
No, but it does have those elements. Yeah, it definitely does have those elements. I think I was, I didn't want to go for, like a bubbly Sauvignon Blanc type of character, type of wine. So, yeah, it's definitely one that's been a bit
layers
crafted and layers and, But, learning of being a sparkling winemaker versus a, still winemaker. Still winemakers, I joke with Kate that the still winemakers are just the GPs and she's a surgeon, really. So, yeah, but it's been great fun.
Curious what the rest of the community thinks about that.
Much more technical, much more detail, much more, yeah.
Let's go back into your journey and just thinking about your sixth generation in the family. Grew up in the vineyard, considered law.
Yeah, law, commerce. Yeah.
Commerce. Yep. Traveled overseas, then studied, and then went into winemaking.
Yeah, so I started my law, commerce, and then kind of thought, I'd really like this whole winemaking thing. I think after I'd travelled, I think, when you grow up somewhere, the grass is always greener. You're always looking, you can't see what's right in front of your face sometimes. And once you travel, you realise that the grass is just different, not necessarily better. So,
was it a moment overseas where you're like, I want to do winemaking?
Yeah, I think, going to beaches in California, and I thought that that they were going to be like the most epic beaches in the universe. And they're like, our beaches are heaps better. So I couldn't quite, it was just like, Corrina, that's silly. But the main thing was I really had an opportunity because the vineyard then was only producing grapes for other people, and we didn't have anything that we put our own name on. And so I realised, my grandpa was pretty keen to, have his own label. And so he sort of encouraged it, my uncles. And so I suppose when you come from that many generations back, it's always nice to have a stamp that your generation can put on things, because each of the generations had done different things back in the day. And, so this, the wine, creating our own wine label, I suppose, has been my generation's stamp.
When was that?
96. Yeah, no, what is it? 94, sorry, 94. Sorry. Yeah.
Is that a big shift from being a grower to actually?
Yes, massive. Massive. You have to do marketing. And, you have to work on the computer instead of just on the tractor. So things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, hugely different. But it adds another string to our bow. It adds a level of value add. And also it enables more family members, should they want to, be part of the business, because there's a lot of more different roles. So.
It's a bit like grower champagne now, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it sounds like your granddad kind of planted the seed.
Yeah.
Uncles were aware of it.
Yep.
Didn't make it. Didn't go into the winemaking part.
No, just stayed growers. Yeah.
The seed festered in your mind.
Yeah.
And then 1994, you tried to convince.
Well, I just convinced Grandpa. I mean, it wasn't very hard. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
He was like. So he actually really enabled it because Pam Dunsford was then the winemaker up at Chapel Hill Wines, and he basically offered her some of our quite high-end fruit, and if they could have it for free, the fruit, if we would take half of it, and if I could go up there and learn from her that vintage. And so she very graciously let me do that, and I just followed her around like a dweeb because I think I had to get the confidence that I would be able to, I had a good palate, or I knew what I was doing in some way, because when you don't realise how much when you're growing up, you just learn so much from osmosis, and turned out I wasn't too shit at it.
Yeah. So was it the conversation with your grandfather?
Yeah.
Was it like one you really well thought through? How am I going to convince him? Or did you just go, come on, Granddad, you want it?
I think he was pretty keen, and he was like, I need to swap some wine with my bowls mates or the other winemakers around. Yeah, because there was a real grape grower winemaker divide. Like the growers were a bit more povo, a bit more peasants, and the winemakers were all a bit fancy. So I think maybe he wanted a little taste. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
but it was great.
You mentioned your time with Pam Dunsford. I guess she's one of your biggest mentors as well.
Yeah, she is amazing. Yes.
What were some of the kind of big learnings, and how was that like as well? Because it wasn't easy, I've heard, right?
No. She's terrifying. She was very because she was the first female winemaker really to sort of go out into industry, and she was when she was studying at Roseworthy, they had nowhere to put her, and she had to go into the infectious diseases ward is where she had to live when she was at Roseworthy, because she was the only woman up there. So you can imagine that she had to butt a few heads. And I think also back then, Roseworthy was all about, the son, the son came and, he had to be in the industry a little bit as well. And she wasn't that either. So she suffered no falls, and I was terrified of her. But she, super smart and really actually very gracious and incredible. Just I was young and nervous. And so from her, I learned persistence, I think. And yeah.
You went to Roseworthy as well, did you?
Well, yes, sort of. It was changing. So I sort of did some subjects at Roseworthy, and then we moved to Waite, and then I finished off at UC Davis in California. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Shall we move on to the next one? Let's
do it.
Let's do the reds. So Grenache was mentioned. So the Grenache from Oliver's Taranga Vineyards, it's the 2024 vintage. Any interesting stories about this Grenache?
How many ways do I love thee?
Oh, wow.
No. This comes from about five. We got 5 different blocks on our vineyard of Grenache, differing ages, quite a lot of bush vine. I think, Grenache is having a real renaissance at the moment, around the country. It was sort of very maligned for a hot minute, but, I just love, and, it went through phases where it was, made to look like a Shiraz, probably fermented over Shiraz skin, so it got a bit more colour. And, but I think, with Pinot being so popular now, Grenache has been able to come along and have its time in the sun again.
Yeah.
So open fermenters, handpicked, a little bit of stalk, probably only about 10%, I'd say. A lot of whole berry, natural ferment. Yeah.
We hear, I don't know about the soils of Oliver's Taranga. I hear a lot about the sandy soils. Is that a different area to what you have, or is yours a different type of expression?
Yeah, so Blewett Springs is the region that you're thinking of. Yeah, so Blewett Springs is just a bit up the hill from us, but we do have, where all of our original older vines were planted, we're on in the deepest sort of sandy soils in our vineyard, because in those soils they're better water holding capacity, because the limestone layer is quite a bit lower, and so the roots can sort of get down. So although our vineyard is it's definitely not in the Blewett Springs region, and it's not as, probably the difference you will see with ours is it's not quite as ethereal as those Blewett Springs one can be, and probably just a little bit more tannin. Yeah. So probably the ones from Blewett are just that little bit, they're a bit later ripening, they're a little bit finer with their tannin, whereas we tend to have, just where we are in McLaren Vale, tend to have just that little bit more density and that little bit more tannin structure. But still with the, lovely florals and red fruits and, all of that sort of stuff that Grenache gives in spades.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, it definitely has a lot more density to it.
Yeah.
When they compare it to Clarendon and something like that, there's a lot more prettiness there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so some of those are like super, super pretty and ethereal. So this sort of sits in that next layer down without being, getting into the old school sort of chunky style ones. Yeah.
When did the evolution of Grenache and McLaren Vale happen? Like you mentioned before, one of the first grape varieties that was planted. Like when did that shift happen and why?
Well, it went through, so many phases. It was originally planted, I think, because it's just such a great cropper and easy to grow. It doesn't need a whole pile of water. And unbeknown to them back then, also is relatively low pH, so means spoilage is less likely, although that wasn't all known about back then. But so it was made for fortified wines for a long, long time. Then when you sort of ended up getting quite a bit of migration, migrants coming to Australia who coming from Italy and places like that where they'd had wine on the table, then there was a bit of a red wine boom, and it was those sort of flagons, that Darrenberg used to make with the old school barrel flagons of Grenache would be in that. But then it got a bit maligned, probably from about the 70s, 80s to maybe 90s, because it was seen, because it had been in those sort of bulk sort of flagon type styles.
Sorry, what's flagon?
A flagon is a 2 litre bottle of wine. Okay. It was, I don't know, the way you sort of went and got your wine back in the day.
Oh, I'm thinking like a 2 litre carton of milk.
Yeah, no, it's a bottle, but it's pretty old school. But people, I think, then saw it as a bit of a filler sort of style. It was pretty cheap, the grapes per tonne. But then, from the 2000s, early 2000s, there was this real progression of people trying to, make Grenache, make some really fine Grenache, I suppose. And, we knew about it internally for a lot longer than everyone externally was paying attention to it. But now Grenache is actually the most expensive grape per tonne in McLaren Vale, so on average. So it's actually more expensive than Shiraz now.
Has there been a shift on how you've treated Grenache? Like you mentioned, it's high cropping. Are you trying to reduce that cropping to make it?
Well, I think, that's naturally happened over the years. So as you've got these older vines and, a lot of them are unirrigated and bush vines and all the rest of it, I mean, I think it's naturally happened a bit as well. But there has just been a big planting influx. So we'll see how long it takes to get those all into shape. But Grenache is harder to grow for very high quality. But it really delivers, once you get it right, I suppose. So, it takes a lot more effort in the vineyard than what Shiraz does, in my opinion. Yep.
You're talking about a lot of effort, especially with all these kind of new varietals you're trying to put together. Is there like one vintage that's been like the toughest vintage and what?
Toughest. Okay, toughest vintage was probably 2008, I would say, because of the heat wave, there was a big heat wave, we had all our Shiraz off, but and I just can remember looking at the news and looking for the 7th day to have not been 40. But we did that for 2 weeks. I think it was about 2 weeks that it was over 40, and we didn't pick any Cabernet at all from that year. That was stressful. Yeah. So heat waves we do have wettish vintages, but not really that bad. So yeah, heat waves.
Even being so close to the ocean.
Yes. Even that was a crazy one. We've never had anything sort of like it since. But I think, that's what that's what grape growing is about. I remember back in the day, Darry Osborne, so that's Chester Osborne, who owns Darrenberg now. His dad, his jobs when he was 90 years old was going to the post office and going to the bank, and I was also at the post office, and he would just give me little pep talks every morning when we go to empty our box, and I'd say, Darry, what's this vintage? Oh God, this vintage doing this, or and he'd go, oh well, it's got a touch of 72 and it's got a little bit of 54, but it's also got a little bit of 97, and he would just I go, oh, of course. And just as much as winemaking is a, taste and, getting things right and, knowing the science and all that sort of stuff, it's also a logistics, organising exercise. You got to be able to see what's happening with the weather. Have you got trucks? Have you got pickers? Have you got a tank for it to go into? Have you got a fermenter? Have you got workers? Have you got, all of those things? And, you just can sort of go back through your Rolodex as to what each vintage is presented, and then just sort of divert on what you need to do. And he really taught me that. So, yeah.
Is each vintage still stressful, or you get into a flow state where?
Flow state. I think adrenaline. You run on adrenaline. Yeah. I think so.
Cool. We touched on alternative varietals, the ones, around Falangina, Fiano we mentioned as well, Sagrantino. What are some of the hardest or the biggest challenges in introducing a new varietal?
Yeah, I don't know. Is anyone going to be able to pronounce Falangina, do you think?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
We've got to give it a nickname,
We
right?
Australianise names, don't we?
We do, but that one is fraught. Falangina. A little bit fraught. So we, but it is named after phalanges, after fingers. So, or soldiers, the soldiers, fingers of soldiers going to war. I don't know. It's
because you need to make an early call, right? You're going to do something. You have to wait for it to come out of quarantine and get all the nursery and all that.
We were on the wait list for Falangina for probably 7 years, I'd say. And I think we're lucky because we have a really strong cellar door, and so and very engaged. Our staff are incredible, super easy. They know more about wine than me, and they're able to talk to people at the coalface and actually educate them. And then you just sort of slowly see it. It sort of gathers momentum and finds its way out, and then all of a sudden it's on wine lists. You have very progressive somms or that sort of stuff, and then eventually it finds its way into specialist liquor stores, and then next minute you've got a Fiano section in Dan Murphy's. So I think pronunciation, people talk about being the biggest I think the biggest thing is just making sure you do it well to start with, and don't try to make it look like something else. Let it speak its own. Let it speak its own truth.
Do you look at research overseas? What people are drinking? Do you look at climate change as well?
Yeah, it's a lot of it's climate change sort of based, and making sure that I wouldn't bring in something into our vineyard that I thought was going to look exactly the same as Shiraz, or not exactly the same, but be in that same sort of spectrum. I suppose I wanted to make sure that we had some bit of difference. Yeah. So hence, Sagrantino is super tannic, like a Nebbiolo with colour-ish, I suppose. And then you've got Menthea, which is super floral, really lifted, really juby. So, they sort of have a place in the vineyard that's different from Grenache and different from Shiraz for us. So, yeah. But everything has to have, relatively good viticultural fit, I suppose, yeah.
I asked you at the start, favourite grape varietal. Is there also the most, not hated, but worst varietal to kind of work with as well?
Yeah, Pinot Gris, in my humble opinion. I don't work with it anymore and haven't for a very long time, but it was a bloody nightmare. Anyways, people love it, so Good on you.
You mentioned Sagrantino, and on another episode we were talking to someone that it should be called Saggy. What do you think of that name? Is that a good name?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it doesn't work?
Don't know about the Sags.
I think I think they actually got the Saggy from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Someone in the Hunter.
Yeah, well, I remember in the early days of Fiano, actually, someone said to me, "Do you know what you should call this? Fiona." I was like,
Fiona?
maybe
It's
not.
gonna work.
Princess Fiona.
That's what I'm
Maybe
thinking.
that's what it should be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, the trickiest one for me was actually Mencia, because, we could just say Mencia and not sort of try to lean into this, because we were the first to plant it in Australia as well. So when you're you're the first one, do you just lean into Australian pronunciation, or do you, try and sound like a bit of a wanker and, say Mencia? So we have decided to do, and there'll probably be Spanish people saying that I don't pronounce it right anyway.
Do you say chorizo as well?
Yeah. No, but I do try to say paella. No, I mean, I've got the worst Australian accent in the universe, so it's very hard for me to try and pretend I'm Italian or Spanish.
Well, that's why this is good to pronounce. Shiraz. Shiraz is pretty good.
Yeah, but see, I get you say Shiraz and I say Shiraz, and then someone says Syrah, and then we all know where we've come from.
Yeah.
We know what it tastes like. So it's the 2022. Do you say Shiraz? Shiraz.
Yeah, but it's people tell me that's a South Australian thing. So,
do you think Shiraz might be taken over by one of the other reds? Maybe Grenache. It'll
take a hot minute, and we'll end up with probably some not great Grenache in the meantime if we're planting them in not the most suited to Grenache spots. But and we talk about that Shiraz isn't as popular-ish at the moment, but it's still by far the biggest, the biggest planted and the biggest seller and the biggest one that is on people's tables, except for the Pinot Gris drinkers. But no, I'm joking. So I don't know. I don't know. I definitely won't see it in my lifetime in McLaren Vale. I don't think. Yeah, there's too many beautiful old vines of Shiraz as well to lose, and just lots of different great sub-regions, and it just can lend itself to, super cool climates all the way through to, warmer climates. So, yeah, I don't know.
Are the grapes used in this the ones that Penfolds are using in their Grange?
No, not this one. No. So we have a couple of layers of Shiraz at our place. So this is our estate label. So this comes from about 10 different blocks of Shiraz on our property, sort of ranging in age from about 15 years old to, say 70 years old. And I just make each block individually each year, and then we do the blend afterwards. Generally, the HJ, which is our reserve Shiraz, that's named after my grandpa, Herbert John, HJ, that's the block in general. That is, we've got about 5 blocks in the Grange Growers Club, but that's one of the ones that they take half of and I take half of.
Yeah, so. Of course, they keep the best one for themselves, right?
Yeah. Well, no, we only let them have half of that one. So.
And the second year ones you give to Grange.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, well, Oliverstaranga doesn't pay as much for the grapes as Hillthops do. So when you get into Grange, that's a bit of a lofty achievement. Also, my uncle is quite a competitive grower, so he feels when he makes Grange. And my husband and my uncle both grow Grange, and they're both very competitive and quite enjoy it.
They should still have the best grapes competition.
Yes, I know, best bunch of grapes. I know. We need to bring that back. The country shows these days, they have beautiful bunches of, herbs and things. So maybe best bunch of grapes.
Best pumpkin, best grapes.
Exactly, yeah.
What is McLaren Vale Shiraz? It's not Barossa Shiraz.
It's not. No, so it is, I don't know. I tend to find the descriptors, you end up with a bit more of those sort of darker, deeper sort of flavours in the Barossa. Darker cherry, darker chocolate,
less plush.
Yeah, less. And when I speak to the Penfolds guys actually as well, because, obviously the most of Grange, and they're making a particular style, which is very, full on. But they say that McLaren Vale brings sort of the lightness and brightness and fragrance. And I say lightness with a, it's not Pinot, but you know what I mean? So it just brings a bit of a light and shade to it. So I think, plushness through the mid palate, probably still structural, but maybe finer sort of tannins. And the Barossa, can be quite a bit warmer than McLaren Vale because it's that bit more inland. So yeah.
Yeah, less heavy, is what I'm thinking. When you're talking about lightness, it's about that weight.
Yeah, slightly lighter on its feet, I think. And, it depends where it comes from. When it's on the old rocks, which are sort of up above us, it can be a lot more structural, but still with that not quite as dark on the nose.
Yeah.
And then once you move into Blewett Springs, and then things become a bit more floral and a bit lighter in general. But in our region, we tend to be sort of sub-district. We tend to be more, plush, dense, mid-palate, finer tannins, but still plenty of tannin, sort of. Yeah.
Plenty of tannins, but then you're very approachable, young.
Yeah.
But it has this kind of like kind of charred radicchio kind of feel to it as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Yeah, some of my descriptors for our vineyard are, which people think I'm being a bit of a wanker as well, but mulberry, sometimes that fruit and nut, sort of chocolate type thing. Sometimes bitumen, wet, that bitumen-y sort of wet bitumen sort of type thing. Yeah.
Are you looking at Nebbiolo these days, are you?
Yeah, no. No, I'm not looking at Nebbiolo. I am drinking Nebbiolo and looking at Nebbiolo that way, but not for our vineyard, no.
Which ties into a question, are there still any other wild ideas that you still have in your head? They're still waiting to
to come out, yeah. Well, Falangina we're very new on, so this just about to bottle my second vintage of Falangina, so that's exciting. And then we actually have some Grenache Blanc in the vineyard that will be having its first crop this year. So
Grenache
Blanc, yep. So there's been some really lovely Grenache Blanc and Grenache Grise around the region over the last sort of maybe 5 years, I suppose. So that's getting a little bit of popularity. So I'll doing a big tasting actually of those on Monday from all around the region and everywhere else. So we'll see.
What should we expect from Grenache Blanc and Grenache Gris? I don't think I've had it before, no.
No, so I'll tell you later. But no, it's supposed to be that low pH type of, so not necessarily high acid, but low pH. So you can get some of those sort of lovely straw type characters, sort of wet straw. Yeah, I'll tell you once I have a look at the fruit. Yeah. I'll ring you after my tasting on Monday and let you know.
Is McLaren Vale seafood a thing as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, we're still trying to make sure we've got enough to go with all the fish that we catch.
So we need to touch on McLaren Vale because you're born and bred and know the ins and outs of McLaren Vale. And we had a visit about 2 years ago.
Yes,
I wasn't sure where to go, so I thought it'd be good to get an insider's view. I'll give you a couple of things where we go, what's the best, and you spit out the answer.
Yep. Okay.
What's the best restaurant in McLaren Vale?
The Little Rickshaw.
Okay.
In Aldinga.
What's the best dish there?
It's these Korean. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's these Korean like noodles that are. And then I think it's like with beef cheek or something like that, and like spicy. I don't know what it's called.
But
anyways, it's amazing. Delicious. Yeah, very delicious. It's a tiny, tiny restaurant though, so you have to book.
Yum.
Yep.
All right.
But don't tell anyone else because I want to be able to still get in.
I'm sure you got special.
Oh man, you guys have some sort of.
It's on the podcast.
You guys have too many followers. I shouldn't have said that.
Favorite pub? Oh, best pub. Sorry.
Best pub. Oh, the best pub. I'll say probably the Victory Hotel. Yeah. So for wine lovers, because actually all the pubs are all pretty good, but the Victory's got the best wine selection, and there's secret rooms and downstairs, and so
many secret things going on.
Secret rooms.
Secret rooms. There is legitimately behind bookcase secret rooms
for secret wines.
Yep.
Oh,
yep. Special wines.
And the password to these secret rooms.
I'm not going to tell you anything else. You need to speak to.
Best place to stay.
Oh, best place to stay. I actually think probably it's called the Vineyard. Not that I don't really stay in McLaren Vale, but one of the most beautiful places I think is called the Vineyard, and it's a whole pile of about 8 little beautifully done little cottages in the middle of a vineyard.
Wow.
Beautiful. Yeah, on Whitings Road.
Okay.
Mind you, I could have said about 1,000 other restaurants and pubs and
They're all good.
places to stay. But anyways, that's what I'll say for the moment.
Best thing to do in McLaren Vale that's not wine related.
Oh, you got to come to Swell Brewery because it's my husband's brewery. No, the beaches.
Yeah, okay. And the best beach there, which is
well, it depends. Port Wollonga is sort of the most iconic looking, I suppose. Maslin's is really beautiful, but one end of it is a nude beach, so you have to be feeling yourself if you want to really go down there. But you don't have to be in that bit. It's still a very, very beautiful beach. Yeah. Port Wollonga is awesome because it's got a little reef that you can snorkel along, and there's a local wobbegong that you can say hello to.
Wobbegong?
Or like a sharky thing that melds into the environment, and I don't know, it's got all like, I don't know, looks army sort of coloured.
Sounds dangerous.
I don't think they have, they don't really have teeth, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Once you have the grindy sort of piece on the bottom of
a wobbegong doesn't sound dangerous, right?
Yeah, you're right. The name's not that bad. It's not Death Assassin or something like that. Yeah, okay.
But Milana's beautiful. Yeah, Seaford's beautiful. Port Wollonga's beautiful. Southport's beautiful. Yeah,
are these the beaches where you can also go crabbing and fishing off the
yeah, so you can fish a bit, but crabbing is more York Peninsula, so you need to go another peninsula over generally. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's all the best of. I don't want to reveal all the secrets, and apologies if your favourite spots are now going to be filtered.
Best cafe.
Best cafe. Oh, I don't know. There's a lot. Probably Agatha's. No, not Agatha's. Yeah, probably. Yes, in Port Wollonga, probably. But Pizzateca is also awesome, but that's not really that's pizzas. I don't know. Too many.
Sounds good.
Too many to choose from.
It's really interesting because when you talk about McLaren Vale and what's happening there, it really feels like a very progressive community. Like you're not stuck doing the same thing over and over again. You're very innovative, very pioneering. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It must be in the air. I just don't know. I mean, you got people like who like Chester who decides to build a cube. Like crazy. And people like Mark Lloyd, who planted Sangiovese, I don't know, 30, probably more than that, years ago. You've got people like Greg Trott, who was really iconic and really ahead of his time with Wirra Wirra. I don't know what it is in the water.
It's really tight knit, right?
Yeah, pretty tight knit. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows everyone else, and I think the other thing I really love about our community is it's quite an Italian, a lot of Italian migration, I suppose. So we've got a big Italian community within our region, which sort of differentiates us a bit from the Barossa as well, given that that's a bit more of a German sort of, melding of people. I don't know.
You probably answer indirectly, but what does that community mean to you, though?
Everything. Yes, community is super important, I think, and also in times when, the wine industry is not, kicking as many goals as what it once was. Yeah. It's important that we all look after each other and we all support what each other is doing. It'd be pretty boring if there wasn't the diversity out there that there is for the customer. And, I think our region is beautiful, and, we've got some really beautiful vineyards and wineries that do a great job of showing off the region. And it means also that, my kids don't have to necessarily go super far and wide to work, because there's plenty to do.
Yeah. And what role do you see Oliver's Taranga playing within that McLaren Vale community?
Well, Queen of Fiano. I'm just going to royally parade down the street.
Is there a king of Fiano as well?
No, it's not even really a thing. But anyways, no, Oliver's Taranga, I hope will continue to be a generational business. I work with my cousins, Bryony, Sam, and then we've also got sheep and cattle property down in the southeast. It's a farming business. The land is very important to us. We've got, a family cemetery, that the first generation are all buried on, and I sort of know where I'll end up. I think we will continue to be leaders in alternative varieties. I think we will continue to be leaders in, diversity, hoping for more diversity in the wine industry and more women in particular, and or more everyone other than the same people that went to school together, wear the same shirts. And I would like to I'd like to champion, small businesses and particularly women-run businesses. And I don't know what else I'll be doing.
Beautiful.
Well, you're doing a lot, which is the way I look at it. Like, I look at what you're doing. You're a change maker, and you're pushing the boundaries. Alternative varieties, women in the industry. Like, who's inspiring you to do this? Or are you just waking up one day, you know what, this will be fun?
I think it's Fury. I think it's called Fury. If it drives things. No. That in the women and wine space, a bit. No, I mean, I just don't like to rest on my laurels, and also don't like to not be part of change. But I also think that, our family have always been, if you just look internally into your own business, there's more out there. You just can get a bit focused and get a bit inward. And I think you need to lift your eyes and be able to see what's happening in the whole industry and learn. I'm lucky enough to be able to judge, around the country and stuff as well, which is always, incredible, going to different regions. I'm actually off to Orange in a few weeks to judge at the Orange Wine Show, which I haven't been to before, and I'm thrilled about. So, it's important to not just be, so deep in your own business that you haven't, seen what's going on around you. I don't know. I get inspired by other people, soak up all their energy and try to, and then, I don't know, I kind of feed on that like a vampire.
Who's inspiring you at the moment?
Oh man, so many people inspiring me at the moment. Jane Thompson, who has now just stepped down from Australian Women in Wine, but set that up for 10 years and has been very inspirational. There's loads of women-run businesses that are just doing absolutely incredible things, which they inspire me all the days. The alternative variety community inspires me because there's just something different happening. My staff inspire me at the moment because they're so awesome at what they do. So, it makes it easier to just suggest things. Have some crazy boss who's just like suggesting things. My family inspire me. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, as long as it's not the nudist people on that beach, that's inspiring you.
No, I haven't been down there recently.
Yeah.
Funny story. I'm doing a collaborative wine, as I said before, but with a Formula One driver, and his PA took himself off for a beach walk and thought, I'll go to Maslow's, that'll be great, but wasn't paying attention, had his earphones in and was kept on walking, missed the sign, and then was like, his eyes were getting a bit wider and wider and wider, and then he goes, I've made an error, divert, and then just done the turn back and then gone, there's the sign. I just walked straight past, and we were like, please ask us where to go next time. So
it's like 300 metres.
He's like, I've made an error. Corrina, I've made an error. Yes, you have. That's all right. Poor little English Paul. Yeah, his eyes were widened.
I thought you were getting an idea for a new label or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we're pretty much at the tail end. Did you have any last questions?
I think I'm good.
I had one more question, and it was a news article on your website. There's a news article that says, tiny winery stuns the industry giants. It's got this awesome photo. I think that's a cool photo.
It is a cool
You smiling, hugging your daughter in the vineyard, massive grin.
Mm.
You won the Wine of the Year for the HJ Reserve McLaren Shiraz 2000.
Yeah.
Massive achievement. And you said the Shiraz was a testament to your grandfather, Herbert, who planted the block where the fruits came from. Thinking about that, and time's gone since then.
Mm.
What do you think Herbert's going to say about you now?
Yeah, wow. I don't know. I hope he's proud. I think he'd be really proud that more of his grandchildren are in the business, and we've been, since then we have, renovated our cellar, or opened the cellar door, renovated the cellar door twice, and we have bought our own winery and running now a contract processing facility in McLaren Vale, of which we're the main customer, or one of the main customers. We have bought other vineyards. We have, 4 of us All his grandchildren, in fact, are all in the business. So I don't know. I think that's a pretty strong. Yeah. 2 of his children and 4 of his 4 grandchildren are all in the business. Yeah.
It says something about the family values sticking together.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. So he'd be spewing that we're not ploughing as much as what he used to, though. He loved sitting on the plough, and he'd be bemused at how much that we can actually sell wine on the internet and things like that. I think that would be pretty crazy for him. But
definitely a lot of achievements.
I think he'd be proud. Yeah.
Last messages for our audience. Anything you want our audience to hear? Anything coming up? Any events?
Yes. It's going to be International Fiano Day. Where I'm saying international. Maybe it's just National Fiano Day. Maybe it's just Fiano Day.
It's regional.
Maybe it's just at my place, Fiano Day. Us. But on the 17th of October, first one, we decided, we're going to, so if you're a Fiano producer, you'll hear from us. But if you are a Fiano enjoyer or you haven't enjoyed one, the 17th of October is your tip to have a go. Try one, open one for the first time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fiano Day, check it out.
October 17th.
October 17th. You got to wear the hat and you got to wear the T-shirt. I want to see a picture of you in the T-shirt.
Done.
On the 17th.
Trent, any last reflections?
Last reflections is I feel like you like a ball of energy, like
because I'm probably sucking some from you, your energy at the moment.
You're like unrelenting and motivated. Like I think like you never rest in your laurels as well. Like I feel that you're a pioneer with all these different grape varietals and alternative varieties as well, and that the people say like the personality comes through in the wines. I see that as well coming through in these wines as well.
Oh, thanks.
So I love that fact, and also look forward to the Pinot Gris in the future as well.
It's definitely coming out.
I'm very glad for other people to do very well with their Pinot Gris and and there's some wonderful ones around. But I don't think I'll be leaning into it.
Corrina, thanks so much for joining us. Completely agree. The energy that you bring is amazing, and I feel lazy next to you. Is what I feel. My goodness, this woman's achieved so much. I'm like, I got to do more. But when we're talking about inspiration, you are inspiring in what you're doing. So thank you for that. For all of our viewers out there, definitely check out Oliver's Taranga wines. Check out their website, oliverstaranga.com.
Yep. And the awesome cellar door as well.
Yes.
And the awesome cellar door.
It's not a big cube, but it's all still awesome, right?
Exactly.
And you can do rides through the vineyard on our little golf cart. So that's fun. That makes it heaps cooler.
That sells it. There you go.
Just not while drinking Fiano, maybe.
Yeah, no, someone else drives you. But yeah.
Corrina, thank you once again. That's us at the Wind Up. As we like to say here, drink more, try more, learn more. Thanks all.